Hello, my friend. This is Heather. This is episode 112 of the Back to Me podcast. This week's celebrity chat is with Corbie Mitleid, and something different for you today. Corbie is a psychic intuitive coach, and she helps people figure out the right questions to ask, as well as hopefully finding some of those answers. Have a listen. Such an interesting conversation. Let me know what you think. Take care. I'll see you soon. Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friend. Happy New Year. So, before we jump into this episode with Corbie about thinking like a Martian and why that's fabulous, I wanted to let you know, first of all, Happy New Year. I've been thinking of you and wondering, how are you doing with your Happy New Year? I know that a lot of times at New Year's Eve, we're all excited for a brand new year and we set fabulous maybe resolutions, maybe intentions of what you want to achieve for the year. And I'm wondering, how are you doing with that? And I'm asking you that because often people will drop off and not create the changes that they want. And to that end, I wanted to let you know, if you haven't heard or signed up yet, I am offering a free webinar, 100% free, where we're going to talk about your to-do list and achieving goals and all of those fabulous things. And it's called Ditch Your To-Do List. How fabulous is that? Now, it's going to be on January the 25th at 7:30 Eastern Time. It's completely free. The link is going to be in the show notes, but if you can't find it, just pop over to the website because it's there again as well, prosperityflowcoaching.com. Take care. I can't wait to see you, and let me know how you're doing. Have a great day, friends. Enjoy the episode. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? I hope you're having an outstanding day. This is Heather, and this is the Back to Me podcast. And this is my most favorite day of the podcast because it is the celebrity chat edition where I get to talk to an amazing human being. And every time I do one of these, I always learn something new. And I'm really, really looking forward to today. So today I have Corbie Mitleid. I said it right.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're going to talk about some very interesting things that you just may not have thought of before. I love the three most important questions in the world. But before we start that, because I'm always super interested, how did you get into doing all these things that you're doing? I know you're writing and reading and...
Okay. First of all, to everybody listening, please, I'm so sorry. It sounds a little hollow. I was out of the office for 3 days, and one of the cats found my AirPods, and it's off in the ozone somewhere. But we wanted to record today, so
we did.
It's not Heather, it's my cats. Anyway, the 30-second elevator speech. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and instead of thinking, ooh, that's scary, or ha, 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 I thought, and your point is, I knew there was magic in the world. I wanted to go find it. Fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior in high school. And yes, my darlings, that does tell you how old I am. That was the year Live and Let Die came out with Jane Seymour as Solitaire the card reader. Spencer Gifts had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your fringe jacket and your deck.
Right.
5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was still reading the cards. They fascinated me with their stories. So for 20 years, I read for friends, learning to keep my ego out of the way so I'm a clear channel. All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, hello, you're working for us. So I did it part-time while I had a very checkered career otherwise until 9/11.
Oh.
As my husband and I watched the towers burn, I said, I need to do this work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So since then, it's been 20 years, 6 days a week, 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's the biggest gift.
That is super cool. Well, not 9/11, but the rest of it is super cool. And it is interesting how when you're young, just one thing will just kind of light up something for you, and that you had the guts to go with it, even if people might have thought it was a bit odd.
Well, I'm going to give you an anecdotal, and everybody listening, think about your childhood. Did you get a big clop on the head? They are figuring out that most of us that did that, our intuitive stuff wakes up early. My situation, I was 4, sledding down the hill near home. They hadn't taught me to roll off the sled, and I went face first into a concrete bench. Didn't
Ow.
even fracture my skull, but it went right at third eye. And so maybe that's it. Who knows?
Maybe you just needed, maybe they could have done a more gentle whack to wake you up.
Trust me, I never go for the easy route.
Right. And I know you've written tons of books, and I mean, I love all the titles of all your books. They're all super cool. And I'm going to include probably all of them in the show notes
Thank
because,
you.
you know, we want people to be able to find you. So,
Yes.
so you do readings. Do you use cards still to read for people?
I use whatever works. I use tarot cards, oracle cards, numerology, direct channeling, you name it, because it's like the old saying, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But if you're
Right.
a full toolbox, you're more appropriate. So
Right.
yes,
Right.
cards are very good for your everyday tour bus stuff. Direct downloads are past lives, spirit guides, and mediumship.
Wow. Do you find that people are searching for that information because they're stuck or they're confused or maybe both? Like I
Yes,
just, yeah,
yes. They don't. We're taught not to trust ourselves,
yeah,
and so you're a psychic. You should know these things. Eventually, people realize I'm not going to give them a simple answer. I'm going to show them what their options are. I will empower them. Then, if they come back, it's because they know that I help them open doors, which is much better than does Bruce love me? Yes or no.
right. Yeah, see, is this the boy for me conversation, which that's the wrong question. That's always the wrong question.
Especially if you push it. Does Bruce love me? Well, is he going to love me? Well, if I do this and this, well, he's going to. Will you stop already? I said no. Ugh.
Move on.
Yes.
And if that's the wrong question, then I'm super curious on what the important questions are.
The important questions are what move you forward. For instance, you can say, what does the relationship with Bruce look like? Which is not, does Bruce love me? It
Right.
is you, Bruce, the relationship as it stands, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. And sometimes I will even look at the karma underneath. But if you keep beating on me, hoping that I will change my answer to, yes, he loves you, but he just doesn't know it yet, you came to the wrong psychic, darling. I don't do that.
Right.
You're going to get the right answer because that's the answer you need.
And maybe the even more important question is, do I mean, it's not a question. Do you need to be in a relationship to find whatever the value is in
No,
yourself, right?
not at all. But 95% of new people come to me with romance questions. Um,
Really?
yeah, the second thing they come to is about career, and I've taught them, don't ask yes or no. Is my new business going to be successful? What if I said no? You're going to live in a box under a bridge. Better is the empowering stuff. How do I
Right.
make my new business take off? Then it's a multiple card spread, a card for you, a card for any partners in the business, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Do you see how much better that is than a 3-card spread that says wait until January and fire the second redhead? Please.
That's huge. That is much larger than most people probably consider when they, from a like, because I started originally business coaching.
Mhm.
And a lot of people will think, I'm just going to go do this thing. And they don't recognize that there's a lot of moving parts to it. So so cool that when you're doing a spread for a business, like you actually have all those pieces built in.
But this is what in the headhunter business is called transferable skills. I used to be an executive recruiter for engineering and manufacturing. I counseled people in careers for years. Why would I not use that left brain knowledge I have, partner it with the right brain intuitive work to give my clients a better and more in-depth answer? To
Right.
me, that's what being a responsible intuitive consultant is, not just a fortune teller.
And it's so, I find it so surprising that so many people just come to you to ask a better relationship when there's so much more to the world.
No, I know. But it is not mine to judge. If that's what's on top of their mind, okay. You
And I
can,
guess it is an entryway. So
yes.
I've been teaching yoga for a really long time, and I know when people first come to yoga, they just come because they want a yoga butt. But what,
Please.
but it's like the entry point for them, which I'm not going to judge them for. I understand that's what social media, that's what um, advertising is feeding you. But if you stick with it, you recognize that there's more to it.
Mhm.
So if they come to you looking for the love of their life and then they realize, oh, there's way more to life, and look at all the things in the world that,
It is the difference between reading the back of the book cover and reading the book.
oh, I like that analogy. Very
Take it and run
good.
with it. Go ahead, Heather.
Oh, I don't have to go Cole's notes now. I get to read the inside.
Yes.
So if we talk about, what's the think like a Martian? Tell me this think
Oh, I
like a
love
Martian.
that. We go through life judging, whether we know it or not. And it runs through our head like one sentence. Oh my God, they're going to be so mad at me because I'm late. Oh, geez, she looks terrible in that. Wow, I'd really love that car, but I'll never be able to afford it. Why is it that thinking like a Martian blows that out of the water? And the simple example I give is, Heather, if you and I were sitting across from each other and you had water coming out of your eyes, I might instinctively say, why are you crying? But Glebel the Martian, who lands his little saucer and has the assignment of go learn everything about humanity, comes toddling over to you, all excited, looks at you and says, why is there water coming from your eyes? And the Martian might get the better answer because maybe your contact lenses are bugging you, or maybe you have allergies, or maybe there's an emotional basis. When we ask questions just based on what's presented to us, as Barry Neil Kaufman says, questions are not so much signs of doubt as the ability to crystallize what we know.
Cool. And it's interesting. I mean, because we put language on things, language gives, it's almost like the language we use can sometimes be the answer that we want or the answer we expect. But I mean, you said, why are you
Political
crying?
polls.
What's
Look,
that?
look at political polls.
Oh,
I guarantee you the survey you take is arranged so you have to give them the answers that they want.
oh, yes. I remember stats class. It's like, what answer do you want? I can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it, we don't recognize, because then they quote the stats back to us, right? It's like, oh, this proves it. But they proved it, the answer that they wanted.
Mark Twain's famous quote, there are three kinds of lies in the world: lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Nice. Yeah, very true. And that's like how to step out of the context of you and the ongoing conversation in your head is such a practice, because we can say, yeah, think like a Martian, don't prejudge, but you've already done it before you even recognize that you did it.
It's because that's how we are taught to live. When we are so afraid of being wrong because the world judges us that way, we always try to figure things out first. It's why someone is talking to us, and I guarantee you, we all do it. I have done it, and it takes practice to get out of it. They have half their words out, and you're already thinking about the answer you're going to give. You're not listening to the whole sentence.
But how do you get out of it?
You learn to pinpoint focus with an open heart on what are they saying, and you listen to that. Tell the squirrels upstairs to take a nut bar break. I'm listening to this person. Then you've got everything. Then after a second or so, you have an answer for them.
Right.
Or a question for clarification.
This is totally off the what you reminded me of a book that I read that was about magicians and wizards, and he called it deep listening.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a practice that he did where he could actually hear what was being said that no one else could hear.
Deep listening is a Thich Nhat Hanh thing as well. And what you're also talking about is what I call underhearing.
Oh, okay.
Betsy and Joan, they're out to coffee, and Betsy says, yeah, the date last night was great. We did this, we did that, the other. And Joan looks at her when she's done and goes, stood you up, didn't you? How did you know? Because the underhearing hears the tension in the voice and the slight desperation on making up a story. Now, that's good intuition. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
But if she was thinking of an answer, the first half of the story, she would have bought it. And they would have gone down this illusory path.
So do you think intuition has, I mean, I don't think it's magical, but I'm going to use the word magical versus just really intensely being aware of the signs of what's going on in life? I mean, the way people move can tell you something. Like you said, the tone of their voice.
Yeah. That's top of the brain. That's intellectual stuff. Intuition is the deep gut that doesn't make any sense, but you know it's right. One of my favorite examples for that in doing a reading, there's a certain card in the tarot deck. It's the Three of Pentacles. And normally you see a stained glass window in a church and a guy is working on it, and it talks about mastery. I don't see it in my deck at the moment, but
it's hiding.
It is. But I looked at that card when I was reading for a couple in Canada, and what comes out of my mouth was, there is a deconsecrated or abandoned church, and that's where you need to open up a cafe bakery within about 5 miles from here. And I'm thinking, they're going to think I'm insane. But they look at each other, they look at me and go, yeah, we know which one. We've been arguing for 2 years. That's intuition.
Right. Yeah. That is not just hearing the tone of voice, right?
No, that is coming up from the gut.
Something else.
Both are useful, but they're very different.
And do you think that everyone has some degree of it and they just don't access it?
Look, we all have 10 fingers. Everybody can play chopsticks. Some of us love the idea of music, so we study the notes and we practice. 1 in 100 million is Elton John, but we all have 10 fingers.
Right.
So yes, the answer is you absolutely do, and you can work with it should you choose to.
And I guess most people just don't trust it, right?
They're afraid of it.
Yeah. And I know that there's lots of, like, some people would say that you should be burned at the stake, etc., etc. Although when I went to Salem, I saw that there weren't actually that many that were burned at the stake, and quite a few of them were men, which surprised me. So there you go again with media telling us the wrong information.
You see, it's the whole self-help book thing. You know, my first book, Clean Out Your Life Closet, is clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress. But in the book, I don't say you have to do everything I do. I present ideas and then give you questions so you can see if it works in your life. Because I remember the very first self-help book I read when I was 13. And the first paragraph was, Judy has a groovy wardrobe. Her hair is fab and her makeup is far out. Told you I was 60s. But nobody likes Judy because Judy's fat. Right in that one paragraph, my entire generation was told, we don't care what you think. We're telling you, you are worthless unless you're skinny. And so people think whatever they read in the self-help book trumps their knowledge. And I'm saying, no, it doesn't.
And it seems like, look at how big the self-help library is in a store.
Mhm.
and how people can have their shelves lined with these books and they're not any further ahead.
They aren't. You know, I lost a reality show because they wanted to say, and we'll tell everyone, nobody can do what you do and you're the only one. I said, wait, that's a lie. I have spent all my life telling people I'm not special. You can do what I do. They said, oh, well, then we're not interested. And went and found somebody who would live the life for them.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my integrity is more important.
Well, I mean, I was having a conversation the other day that the reality TV is as far from reality as you can get
It's an
because,
oxymoron like jumbo shrimp.
yeah, exactly. "Oh, this is what we want to show. That's not real." Okay, but that's what we want to show. So, too bad. But
Mhm.
the I wrote down the word answers and I can't remember why. Sometimes the thoughts come and go faster than I can grab onto their tail and pull on them.
I know.
But it is true that, oh, because this is what I was thinking.
Mhm.
So they're looking for an answer, but they don't want to do anything about it. So, like them saying, just tell me Bob loves me. You're like, no, you've got to have different questions and it might take a little introspection and work. No, 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 just tell me the answer.
That's living life through Cliff Notes. Don't make me read the book. Just give me the answers on the midterm.
so
No.
so they have a shelf full of books they've only read the back of. Now,
Yes.
I fully admit that one of the first self-help books I remember getting was way back, and it was a Tony Robbins, and I think I read the first chapter and a half, and that
Mhm.
was all I read, and it was one of the big fat ones,
Yeah.
and but I will say that it did help me because I can't even remember what the statement was at this point, but it said something, and then I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm getting divorced." So
You know, it's some of them are very, very useful. Um, but the example that I just threw up my hands about, and that's why I wrote my book, like there was someone who said, forgive me, I have to say yoga. You should get up every morning 2 hours early and do yoga and also avoid food with leptin. If you're a mother in Milwaukee, you're a single mom with 2 kids and a job, you are not going to do that.
you need to
But the
sleep,
book says, do this or you won't be happy. And
right?
that's what I object to.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Is that because every person's situation is so unique. You can't
Mhm.
hand them a prescription
No.
off of like your photocopier and say, this is it, this is it, this is it. Even people will ask me what kind of the yoga they should do, and I'll say, what kind of yoga do you like? Right. That's the kind you should do.
I think diets. Some people are great with keto. With me, it threw my cholesterol all to hell.
Oh
So I'm
my.
doing Mediterranean now and I feel better. And they'll say, oh, it's too many carbs. And oh, you're doing that. I'm sorry. My body tells me what it wants to do. And I'm going to listen to the body that I live with, not some book.
Right. And we do want the just standard, this is the answer.
Mhm.
And diets is a perfect example. We jump from the fad diet to the fad diet because this is the final answer.
Mhm.
And in reality, I call it an experiment of one. So you're an experiment of one, and that's going to take you a little bit of work to figure out what works best for you.
Mhm.
And I had a friend who did paleo, and she's like, "Oh my god, paleo was so amazing, and this." And I tried it. I was like, "Yeah, no, it's not for me." But I also don't think I can do vegan, and I can't
Mhm.
I need to weave my way,
Yep. I know. I need what I cheerfully call dead thing too, but you bless it good and you thank it for what it is.
right? It's like, yes. I mean, I look at the animals in the wild, and I don't think they apologize when they consume their prey.
Mm-mm.
They might apologize, but I do appreciate all of the live things, movable and non-movable, that
Mhm.
help me continue my life journey as I go. Um, so I like to think. So what kinds, like, as a practical, when
Yeah.
you were trying to think like a Martian, what practical things did you try to catch yourself?
I would write down conversations that I was having in my head and I would look and see, am I asking questions or do I
Oh,
think I already know the answers?
oh,
Um, I would look at how I'm feeling about a relationship and then I'd say, what if I took the charge, the emotional charge? off of it. Look, I've been with my husband, 22 years. We've been married 20. It has not been easy. I got my third bout of breast cancer 18 months after we got married, and the doctors turned me from this gorgeous Dolly Parton figure to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects, which completely changed our idea of what marriage was going to be. It took work. It took learning to listen to each other, not listen at each other, which is that halfway thing.
Yeah.
It took getting out of our own pity parties. And so when you realize that listening, deep listening, and taking the emotional charge out of it, for instance, making it about the challenge, not personal sniping, you are more likely to find an answer. You're more likely to still love the person that you're working with while you're working on it.
Right. And we forget, I mean, I heard a podcast recently he was trying to kind of convey the same idea. It said you are a judging being because that's how you evolved, and that's how you're like, that car will hit me, this person's not dangerous, this is this. But when we translate it into relationships, I had a client who I was having a conversation with who they had written a whole story in their head about a comment that their partner had made. And I said, did you ask him? And when they went and had the conversation, it was completely the opposite.
There's a story I like to tell called the lawnmower story.
Oh.
John borrows Bruce's lawnmower. He's a little late returning it. So on his way over, he's saying, he'll probably be really pissed at me about not returning it on time. Well, that's all right. He hasn't returned such and such. And why is he judging me anyway? He's such a son of a bitch. And so he gets there and Bruce says, hey, and he is, here's your freaking lawnmower, and walks away. And Bruce is going, what?
Right.
We have these dramas in our head. We become drama llamas. And it just gets in the way of most everything. Take a chill pill, my darlings.
Really. Right. I usually ask people to just take 3 deep breaths before they speak, mm-hmm. or decide what the other person's answer is.
Yes.
And good. Even 3 breaths is long. Yeah, 3 breaths is long for some people. Mm-hmm. Like that's like a huge space of time. It's like, it's not really.
And people who don't breathe, they shallow breathe. Taking a deep breath, they'll cough or they'll get panicked.
Right, because it's too high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And unless I think about all these, I mean, your example was with 2 gentlemen, but I see it more often in couples who something about they think they know the person well enough that they think they already know what the answer is. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that alludes to you saying they've decided the answer in the next statement before they even actually listen. Yes. But sometimes they don't even ask the question.
If you hear something, try turning it around, saying to your husband, when you said this and this, it sounded like you were angry with me. Were you? And maybe he'll say, not at all. So right there, you can disarm a judgment on sound. Again, questions are so important.
Right.
It depends on how you ask them. Notice the tone of my voice. It's not, when you said that at me, were you angry? Because that right there says you're angry back.
Right.
So as calm as you can be when you ask a question, because the underlying thing is, I truly want to know, rather than
picking a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Defend, what is it? A good defense is a strong off. No, one of those things. It's probably football related.
It is. I don't know football, so don't ask me.
I don't either. So we're both in bad shape for that one. So if you're going to boil it, because I think we talked about The 3 most important questions. Are there just 3 most important questions?
I find that they work in just about every situation.
Okay, I have 2 rules, so now 2 rules and 3 questions. Let's go.
Okay. First question. What am I X about? X is angry, depressed, worried, sad, whatever. Second question. Why am I X about that? And then that may lead you down a bit of a rabbit hole. But the third and most important question we never ask ourselves are, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that?
Oh.
And the example I get, you can use this with kids. You know, your kid comes into the house, stomp, stomp, stomp. Hi, John. Huh. Gee, John, what's the matter? I'm mad. Why are you mad, John? Teacher gave us extra homework. So why are you mad about that, John? Because maybe I won't be able to go out and play. Okay. What do you think would happen if you stopped being mad about the homework? I don't know. If you had to guess. Now that's an important inner question. Because when
Right.
people say, if you had to guess, you're going to hear the answer they wanted. Oh, I guess I could do it, and then maybe there'd be some time to go out and play. Okay. So what do you think? I guess I'll go do it. Good. What that does is the kid is entitled to change his mind, learn about thinking. He doesn't walk in, he says, I'm mad at the teacher. You mustn't be mad at your teacher. I'm mad because you had extra homework. Well, you probably need the extra homework. Notice both of those questions bludgeon the kid, tell
Right.
him that what he feels is wrong. We feel what we feel.
And it'll also just make him push back harder.
Mm-hmm.
If it
That's
was me. Apparently I was quite stubborn.
Yeah, when people feel they're not listened to, they raise their voice or they push back harder. A mom who is willing to explore that with the kid gets more in touch with his own feelings. The kid sees what triggered it, and the kid can decide not to feel that way.
Well, and see options too.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're in that kind of emotional state, there's not a lot of options coming to your mind because it's taking up too much brain space to be in that emotion.
Yes, yes. And kids need that space, and we have to teach them how to take it.
You can teach grown-ups too, can't you?
Yes, but if you can start with kids.
If they're already grown up, they might not have had that opportunity. I just want to give them the opening that they can still learn.
Not our generation, I totally agree.
You can teach an old dog new tricks. Come on, Corbie.
I have Maine Coon cats. They will be
Okay.
taught when and as they choose. Thank you very much.
Right. True. True enough. True enough. But I like the sequence because it's so easy, right? Mm-hmm. Like because I've talked to people who can't actually identify what emotion they're feeling if it's not anger.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes just that first question is enough to kind of have people go, well, I don't know, something. They can say they're not happy. Well, what does that mean? There's a whole bunch of not happy things we could put on that. Mm-hmm. I was talking to someone recently who does emotion code. Have you ever heard of emotion code?
I have.
Yeah. And it was interesting because he identifies with there's 60 odd, he calls them negative emotions that they clear. And if your vocabulary is limited to I'm mad or I'm not mad, then you're so limited to the breadth of emotion and also being able to defuse the bomb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So do you find when you're doing readings that you can help them unpick those things, or is it something entirely different that I can't even imagine?
When I do a reading and then they react, and it's a reaction, not a response.
Oh.
React is visceral, response is thinking. I may say to them, why'd you say that? I'm afraid that. Why are you afraid that? What do you think would happen if you stopped being afraid? Dawn breaks over Marblehead. So yes, I use those 3 questions in my counseling because I'm not a fortune teller. I'm an intuitive counselor. So
Right.
I will use all the tools I can to empower my clients. I won't lie to them. I won't sell them a $600 blessed candle if their business is going to trash. But if the business isn't going to work, then what do you want to do afterwards? What can you save from it? How can you move forward without feeling guilty about it? Giving them all of these options and then letting them process their emotions through that.
That's very awesome. And I mean, there's so many things in life that hold us because we're afraid of something. If you can have someone to help kind of guide you in a direction
Mhm.
that's not going to say just, all these digital course creators do this, do this, do this, do this. I did all your steps and it didn't work. Well, do this, do this, do this, do this. But what if it was the wrong steps for you? Right?
It's the difference between a mentor and a guru
Hmm.
is really important. Um, Mentors push you a little further than you think you can go, kick you out of the nest a little before you think you're ready, and sit in the audience and applaud you for getting an award for being better at what they did than they are. Perfect example is Meryl Streep grabbing her Oscar, thanking her drama teachers at Yale. You're
Right.
allowed to get better than the person who taught you. Gurus are always, I have the answers, keep sitting with me, keep buying my books, keep going on the cruise so I can say the same thing, and maybe you'll get enlightened. No. Mentors,
Right.
yes. Gurus, no.
And I guess people will, it's easy to follow a guru because you don't have to take responsibility.
Bingo.
Right. And a mentor is like, I don't know, they're going to make me cry.
A mentor wants you to fly.
That's awesome. Yeah. Such a big difference. I'd never heard it explained in a way that makes so much sense. And be careful who you follow, right?
Mhm.
Are
Yes.
you just following blindly or are you going your own path
You
with
know, spirit guides. In my book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, I tell people there are things, if you hear it in your head, it's not a spirit guide. You can use the same thing for gurus. They
ah,
will never chastise you in a sharp voice, putting you down. They'll never tell you you're better than everybody else. They won't encourage you to do something you know is wrong for you. Gurus can do that. A mentor will not.
right. So for some reason I had that the other way around in my head. So you think a guru would chastise someone? I guess they would.
Mhm. Think about Esther Hicks and Abraham. Oh, she lights into her people on cruises like nobody's business. But of course, it's Abraham. It's not her. I'm sorry. It's coming out of your mouth. It's you.
Right, right. Okay, I get you. You blaming somebody else for what's coming out.
You're not enlightened enough. Of course, you can't understand what I'm telling you. That's a good one.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yep. I haven't been on those cruises apparently. Haven't heard that one.
Mhm.
Think I will make sure I check the brochure before I jump onto that one.
Smart
So
one.
so if you were going to give someone just a nugget to take with them, a word of wisdom.
We're only here once. Yes, there's reincarnation. But the Corbie recipe, the Heather recipe, we're one and done. We are all meant to leave this place better than we found it. Whether it's nationally, globally, one person. Reach out with both hands and your whole heart. You will get more answers that way that feed both of you. Reach out. We are all we have at this point. And listen. Do that deep listening.
Amazing. That's like a whole year's worth of deep thought right there. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. And in the show notes will be the links to everything to find Corbie. How many books have you written now?
I've written 3.
3.
3.
Oh my gosh.
Self-help is Clean Out Your Life Closet. How to Use Intuitive Counseling is The Psychic Elebic Road. And if you're nuts enough to want to do what I do, the 3rd book is called You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie?
I'm so going for that one.
Okay.
Awesome. So yes, friends, check the show notes, click on through, check out Corbie. Don't be lost and don't be alone. You can have what you want and what you're supposed to achieve in this life, right? Thank you so much, Corbie. I hope you have an outstanding day. I hope you find your earpods. Take care, my friends.
Bye-bye.
Hi, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to this entire podcast. If you found it useful and you're like me and you like helping others, please feel free to share this. Give it a like, give it a comment. If you found something useful in it, there's a chance that someone else will find something useful as well. Also, if you have any questions at all, I can absolutely help and I would love to help. You can email me at heather@prosperityflowcoaching.com. If you want more of this awesome content, you can follow me on Instagram, Heather Stewart Coaching. You can follow me on Facebook, Prosperity Flow Coaching. And I have a personal request. I want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. And if you could give me a review, hopefully a good one, if you could share, if you could send this out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day. And I hope that you find your way to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend.